Whether you're into comedians roasting each other's life choices or turning yesterday's bad decisions into today's funny stories, Amazon Music's got the most ad-free top podcasts, included with Prime. Download the Amazon Music app and get in on the joke. Or go to amazon.com/ad-free comedy. That's amazon.com/ad-free comedy to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
How many of your friends do you think you talk candidly about your financial situation with?
I'm kind of crazy. I think all of my friends, most of my close friends, I'm like very candid with.
Yeah.
And then the closest people in my life, it's like I know exactly how much savings they have like in their bank account. And like we're doing financial stuff together. But that's only like one or two people. But I think it's an important value of mine to be like really, really candid and open about money.
Totally.
What about you?
I thought I was really open, and then we made that like student loan payoff show.
Yes.
And I do remember during that being like, oh, I'm candid about like the money things that feel like palatable with my friends, but I'm never going into detail about like the tens of thousands of dollars I owe for student loan. You know, like some of these things feel like too big to really get into, or even maybe to like let settle with myself.
Totally.
But I do think the person that we talked to today, River Nice, who's a financial planner, I feel like the way that they talked about money and being like, it can bring up fight or flight in people. Like, how do we talk about couching this in a way that you can kind of support yourself while having this conversation?
Totally.
I thought that was super important.
No, that is really important. I do think the solution is like just talking about it more often, because the more you talk about it, the more you realize like people are in very similar situations as you oftentimes, or you realize like someone's more privileged than you, and it's like, yeah, whatever, you know, it doesn't have to be. I've grown up in like really financially privileged spaces my whole life, which I think has really influenced my relationship with money, because like I've always been like the poorest person at my very bougie schools, which can skew like how financially privileged I actually am, which is like I grew up very middle class, but I went to school with billionaires. So I felt like I was like poor. And so I think my honesty about money comes from this place of like, it's actually really important, I think, to understand your financial privilege. But my least favorite thing is just like when people are just like weird about money and just like won't admit that they're rich. Like the upper middle class is like the widest range according to people. Like people are just like, oh, they're just upper middle class. They just have like a summer house or something. I'm like, bitch, if you own multiple houses, just say you're rich. Like, please just say you're rich. Like,
yeah, I totally agree. I do feel like I grew up, the like idea of vacation was like camping, and then going, you know, when you like first get to go on other families' trips and you're like, what the fuck? We ate at a restaurant every night. You know, I was just like mind blown by like the way the other half lives.
Right.
But if we want to get really real, I do feel, and I've talked to friends about this, but I do think that my proximity to not having money is something that helps me cope with my whiteness. And I think that that's something that I like to talk about, maybe a little bit too much. Ooh. And have been kind of like, I'm not like those other white people. I grew up lower middle class. My lunch was free. You know, like I'm different. And there's something going on there that I'm like, and especially now that I have like a regular job and I'm making money, I'm like, oh, what is this like kind of identity crisis? And in what ways am I not like allowing myself to sit with discomfort of privilege in other ways?
Wow. I'm going to be so honest, though. I do think scrappy white is a different identity. No, because I'm telling you, having gone to school, I've gone to school with the billionaire white and the grew up on like a rural farm, like poor white. And I just think it is a little different. But the issue is, I think, poor whites don't see themselves aligned with like other people of color. And that's like the kind of issue.
Yeah.
Because everything here in the US tells you that you should be making it. And then like, so that's what's upsetting. And then that's where it leads to like the Trumpism too.
The replacement theory.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
Like, it's like, okay, we know Black people aren't supposed to make it here. Like we kind of already know that.
Oh my God.
Being like, but like I'm white and I'm not even like there's almost like a double thing.
I see that with men in the workplace too right now, where they're like, oh, no one wants to hire a straight white guy. And you're like, well, let's rewind all the way back, Tyler. Like, you know, like,
all of history.
My name is River Nice. My pronouns are they, them. I live in Philly with my fiance and my cat. I teach personal finance through an anti-capitalist lens, mostly to queer people, but to anyone that can use my pronouns in a sentence.
Perfect. So this is a question we like to ask all of our guests. Could you describe like your personal experience with gender and like maybe taking us through how you've come to embody your current gender identity?
That's the question, ain't it?
Yeah, right. I have to warn people always. I'm like, okay, so everyone gets asked this, but
you hop right in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trans, non-binary. I'm one of those people that had no idea I was trans for most of my life. And then in my late 20s, I was like, I seem to be only dating trans people and only surrounding myself with trans people. And maybe I would be more comfortable if my chest was a different shape. What does that mean?
Totally. Totally.
I do want to shout out here in Philly, especially before COVID, we used to have the Trans Wellness Conference or the Trans Health Conference. It's gone by different names. My understanding, I would have to fact check this, but my understanding is it was the largest trans-specific in-person conference in the country.
Wow.
And so the privilege of being in the city already where that is happening was so helpful. So I started attending because I was dating a trans woman and I was like, I need to be learning and like there's
You start out as such an ally.
Yes, right. Exactly.
Just so excited to learn.
And she wasn't even going to the conference, but I was like, I have to go.
Right.
But there was a year, probably like 2018, if I can remember correctly, where there just happened to be a ton of workshops about non-binary identity. And like non-binary as a term was still kind of new back then. And I was just like, I'm going to go to every single one of these. And then I was just like sitting in the back of the room, like crying for some reason. Like,
Totally. The nerve has been struck.
yes. So that was the like, oh, okay, yeah, this is real. This is for me. And then was like, decided I wanted top surgery even before I was comfortable saying trans. I was like, yeah, top surgery is I'm going to do that as soon as possible.
Wow.
So I did that in 2019. And then during lockdown in 2020, I started the pro-con list of testosterone versus no testosterone. And the pros outweighed the potential cons. And, 5 years later, I'm very happy with my decisions.
Oh my God.
But the gender identity and expression of it all is kind of all over the place. Like, I feel so much more comfortable with girly stuff and woman stuff now that I look and sound like this. Like,
Totally.
And it's always been kind of a balance like that. Like right after I got top surgery, I was like, oh, I can wear heels now.
Right.
Then it's like, I had my hair chopped forever. But once I had the beard, I was like, oh, I can do the long, luscious curls. This feels better, actually.
And listeners, they are luscious. They are very luscious. They're fab.
Curly hair journey. Also, testosterone made my hair curly. It was not curly before. Yeah. Wild. Yeah. But even the other day, I called myself the bride. And I'm like, apparently, I'm the bride at this wedding. Like,
right. It's all about you. It's literally all about you.
So I don't know. I'm just like coming back around full circle or something where it's like now that I have masculinized in the ways that my body needed, I can feel more comfortable with the girly stuff that I've always liked.
Totally. We've talked about this a lot so far this season, but my partner's pregnant. We're going to have a kid. And thank you. My uncle texted me because it was just Mother's Day. And he was like, I have a question. It might be stupid. Are you assumed to be mom? If not, I'll wait patiently till Father's Day, but you're not getting 2 days out of this.
He said, don't be
out 2 days.
Right. Oh, wait, that's really sweet.
But I was
actually,
like, wait, this is so cute. And
Yes.
also, there's something about doing like the work on yourself with feeling comfortable that none of these things feel kind of like excruciating. Like maybe they would at one point, like, oh, you're asking mothers, like it's still such a binary world, but there is like some ease and some kind of like a la carte, like actually a little bit of this and actually a little bit of this that comes with it, which is,
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, pronouns like bug me way less than they did 5 years
Oh
ago.
my
'Cause it's
God.
just like, you know
Same.
what? I'm good.
No, I'm okay with myself. But like in the beginning, like, you know, if someone misgendered me, I would like sob. Like I'd be so
Totally.
upset. But now I'm just like, yeah, you know, whatever. That's fine.
Totally.
Is that your mom's side of the family, Ally?
Yeah.
Oh, that's I think that's sweet of him. Am
think
I allowed
it's
to say
sweet.
that? I think that's really sweet.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, I was like, this has like so much humor and kind of like, yeah, just like I'm just gonna
Stumbling.
ask.
Yeah,
Like, and I'm like,
exactly.
yeah, definitely do.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. There's something I think that a lot of trans people can identify with where you just like slowly build the life that would allow you to be trans in it.
Yes.
And you're
exactly.
just like, I don't know why, but like I met this trans person and now we're hanging out all the time and now I'm in a big city and now I know when the trans conference is. Like,
Exactly.
You're just kind of like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like a bird building its nest.
Yeah.
It's like, let me take a little twig and
Okay,
a
you
little
know I
piece
stopped
of...
tea and you know you're going to make me cry.
No, because have you seen like birds' nests? Like sometimes they're kind of fucked up too. Like sometimes it's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
But I'm just like,
flying through the air with a Starburst wrapper in your mouth.
no, and you're like, I'm going to build this.
Oh, that's so
Exactly.
gender. I love that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, thanks for that analogy. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but you're right. It is like, let me build a life where I can, like,
Yeah, where I can like be myself and like be safe. Do you have any like, rituals or traditions that like keep you connected to your body? Like, do you have any like embodied practices that you like to engage in?
That's such a good question. It's just gonna be a little corny. It's just hugging my partner. Like,
Yeah, totally.
we are like
That's so
like co-regulating in the Costco by holding each other a little longer than it we're supposed to in public. Like,
oh, that's cute.
Co-regulating next to the chicken bake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Okay, that's
Love that.
gorgeous. I kind of want to hop into the work that you do. So I'm curious if you can tell us kind of like what money means to you.
ooh. Yeah. To me, money is a tool. And I would also say debt is a tool, and a credit score is a tool, and property is a tool. And not as in like inherently good, right? Like a knife is a tool that can be used to cook a delicious meal, could also be used for harm, right? And like I think of money that way, and debt and credit scores and all of it. But a knife is a tool that's physically real, and money not so much. Money is this hypothetical thing that we all have to deal with because the government enforces it. Kind of like gender,
Oh yeah.
where it's like this thing is just made up by humans, and it's kind of made up by humans to oppress other humans. That's kind of like the
Right.
whole point of it. And yet I can't just say it's not real because it affects me constantly in every moment of my life.
Totally.
Oh my God, money is like gender. These analogies. It's like tools of the state. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
it is. Right. And it's only like upheld by the violence of the state.
Yeah.
And then the culture also, but like it would be a whole lot easier, I think, to survive the culture or to subvert the culture if it wasn't being upheld so violently by the state.
Yeah, a credit score is so fictitious.
Yes.
You're just kind of like, great. I can only access this by paying to like what
Right.
on earth is going on? So your work, you teach people kind of how to like harness this tool. I think I'm definitely coming from this side of things where this was all too all-encompassing. I don't have executive function. I have full, like I was the type of person that was like, this is fake, and I'm actually in the know by pretending that this is fake, and then had to have like a huge reckoning of being like, great, my license was taken away from me because I didn't pay my failure to a beer bill. Okay, look, now we're getting real.
Right.
But then I was just kind of like, oh, maybe I'll pay attention to this stuff. But I think Babette and I are in similar positions where we're like, we want to #adult about this stuff, but it is so evil seeming. So how did you get started in like your financial planning work? And I guess how did you realize that this was a skill of yours that you could kind of share with the community?
Yeah. So if I'm going to tell that whole story, I will start with I was raised upper middle class and white. And I was raised not just with access to money, but also with information about money. My dad was an accountant.
Oh, wow.
And I happen to have a math brain, and I happen to have that kind of like logical, like project managery type of brain that is valued by capitalism. Because I also want to point out that was ableism at work, like ruining your life, Ally, right?
Totally.
Like,
Totally.
So I had a head start in money stuff and understanding money stuff. I didn't aim to go into finance. My degree is in computer science because I wanted to work at tumblr.com.
Period. Relatable.
I was like, wow, this website taught me I'm queer and maybe I will get a job there and that can be my life plan. And then I both hated writing code and was not good enough at it to get a job at tumblr.com.
My degree in computer science is from tumblr.com. Yeah. I was in there, the HTML, I was like, let me edit my theme real quick, you know?
Let me animate this.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was working in tech when Trump got elected the first time. I hate that I have to say the first time.
Yeah.
And I hated working in tech. It was not a good fit for me. And so Trump got elected, and that was my huge reckoning, like, oh, things don't just get better over time in this country. Oh, like, I can't just live my life like this. I have to do something to help queer people. So I had the privilege to, well, both the privilege and the decision to only work part-time for a period of time and like take on the debt that entailed so that I could soul search and figure out what I wanted to do. So I was like going to every activist training in Philly I could find. I was asking all my friends what they think I'm good at. I was journaling constantly. And I got interested in finance because in that time period, my partner at the time moved in with me. And she had so much credit card debt from her transition and from not expecting to be around to have to deal with it. And I just like helped her figure it out because she was like, oh, like if I can be myself, I want to be here doing things. Like,
Totally.
But Google keeps telling me to stop buying coffee as if that'll solve my huge amounts of credit card debt.
Right.
So we've Googled similar things, your partner and I.
Yep. So I helped her. Just it felt intuitive to me because I didn't know that nobody else got the like starting point of information that I had, you know? And also just like, again, my brain happens to be valued by capitalism in this way. So I helped her make a budget plan and a debt plan and a credit score repair plan. And it just took such a weight off her shoulders to have a plan, even though it was going to take years to deal with. So she's the one that was like, you should be doing this for us. Like, no one is helping broke trans women figure out credit card debt. Like, you have to.
Yes.
So shout out Jess Montgomery. Thank you.
That's, oh my God, that's so cute. Honestly, this is what happened. So when I lost my license, I luckily in the same month got a job that took me to Holland. And I lived abroad and did this like comedy job. And while I was there, I had like a partner who was Dutch. And she was like, what do you mean you have money owed and you don't have a license and it's like compounding interest? And I was like, yeah, I just don't look at it. Like I moved. And she helped me make an Excel spreadsheet budget and slowly save and do all of this stuff so that when I moved back, I was able to like pay it off and kind of start over. But I'm like, yeah, some like that, I was just lucky enough to get like through a partnership, but this doesn't seem like a widely available thing that people can just kind of like seek out until now, like that we're talking to you.
I mean, in an ideal world, you would like turn to your parents, right? But like, and like I also grew up middle class, but like my parents are like, you know, the first generation in our family to like be middle class. So they didn't know, right? Like my dad got a good job. My dad's been working at the same company for 40 years, but he grew up homeless and like no one taught him this is what you should be doing, right? And so like he was just guessing. And so like it's hard also when it's like, okay, I want to turn to my parents. I'm actually teaching my parents stuff now. I'm like, here's the high yield savings. Like this is what we're going to do. And like, so I feel like also it's like even the stuff I've been trying to learn has just been a game of catch up for like the baseline of like what rich people I went to college with like learn. Because like they're teaching their kids about money. People whose parents were in business and then like they go into business, it's like their parents told them money was important growing up. And like, I'm like, I just didn't have that. My parents were just like, my dad never was like, you need to make money. Like that was just never the conversation, you know? So it's like what we inherit and like how we like move through it is like, it feels like that could take like a lifetime to like work through, you know?
Totally.
And they could teach this in school.
Right.
Yes.
That's the whole thing.
And if they do, they teach it in such a shamey, like only one way to do it kind of way that it's still not helpful. Or they teach it in a way that's like not relevant to the students that are learning it, so it doesn't stick. But like generally speaking, they could and should.
Right.
Like, what is more important than this to teach in public school?
Exactly.
And they don't on purpose so that it's easier to control us.
Yeah, totally. Even like when it comes to taxes, like other countries, you receive something in the mail that says, this is how much tax you
owe.
paid.
Yep.
No, that you paid. It's over. They're just so you know, this is what you have paid.
Wait, like it was taken, you mean like it was already taken out of your wages and this is how much you paid?
Yes, it's already a system. It's completely doable for that just to be happening.
And
versus
that's it,
like
right.
in America, TurboTax
scrambling.
and like all of these companies keep it an industry. It like does not
Yes.
need to be this like third party industry in any way.
Yes.
Right. But Intuit, who owns TurboTax and the other companies like that, lobby the government constantly
Exactly.
to make it hard to file our taxes so that we have to pay them for TurboTax.
Yes,
And meanwhile, we have a national shortage of accountants. Like there just aren't enough accountants as individual people to do it, which is why we all need to use like TurboTax and stuff. Like,
Oh, fascinating.
Getting a good accountant changed my life.
totally, it would.
Changed my life.
Anybody listening to this, if you are a spreadsheet type of person, really consider becoming an accountant. There's a huge need for it. It does kind of suck as a job because you're busy as hell January through April,
Yes.
and then there's not so much the rest of the year.
Yeah,
But maybe
totally.
that sounds great to you.
That's like
Right. That's not bad.
Hold on. So you're free the whole summer, every summer?
You're like, wait a minute. So could you break down for us, like, how would you define like anti-capitalist financial planning? Like, what does that mean and look like exactly?
Always evolving, right? I want to be clear first that I do not think personal finance can solve capitalism. There is no like budgeting our way out of oppression or using the stock market to overthrow the stock market. Like it's just like, so to me, like when I say I teach personal finance through an anti-capitalist lens, I'm like, I want people to learn how the games are played as designed and to start getting creative about how we can move creatively through and around those rules. To me, probably the biggest component of it is the individual versus collective mindset. Capitalism and white supremacy, because you can't pull those two things apart. They're inherently kind of the same thing. Capitalism and white supremacy have such a focus on individualism, and like it is only supposed to be like you or like you and your family of origin and your kids, like as the ones that do finance. But especially when I'm trying to serve the queer community broadly, I'm like, we need to start thinking about money and debt and credit scores as tools that we can share with each other. And so instead of feeling like wealth is going to stay in the families that already have it, or like clearly the system has been designed for the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer, especially in the last 50 years since Reagan. I want to be thinking about how do we use these tools created and enforced by the state in a way that cares about collective or cares about each other instead of just individual and like keeping and growing as much money as possible.
That's awesome. So what are some of those things that you get into? Yeah. I'm chomping at the bit.
So you give a Gemini a microphone.
Oh, we love.
Credit score is actually a really great one. If I have the financial privilege, the socioeconomic privilege to have a high credit score at this moment in my life, and I have a loved one that does not have that privilege and has a low credit score, but they need to access a new place to rent to live, I could co-sign that lease for them. Now, me co-signing that lease means that if they're not ever able to pay rent, like if they ever have a month where they can't make rent, either I pay the rent or both of us take the hit on our credit scores. But that's solidarity. Like that's, I am willing to take the hit with you, and or I am willing to put up money to prevent it from hitting either of us.
Totally.
So to me, credit score is a big one along those lines. And like the finding a living space one is a huge one because everyone should have housing. And I hate that this is how this works. But even like I was talking to a client earlier today that has a bunch of credit card debt that's charging like 27% interest. It's so messed up and so common.
Brutal.
And I'm like,
Yeah, it's not even that high. I mean, it is high, but like that's like average. It's
30%,
horrible. Yeah.
it's evil that it's, I don't know how it's allowed. I do know how it's allowed. It's because they want to control us. But that person on their own can't do much to make that debt less bad. But if someone else has a high enough credit score and is willing to co-sign, they could take out a personal loan to pay off that credit card debt. And now maybe that personal loan is only charging them like 10 or 12% interest instead of like 27 or 30% interest.
Yeah.
So again, it's that person with the high credit score with the access putting themselves on the line to say, I will either pay it for you or take the hit with you if you can't pay it.
Yeah.
But that means that the person that's struggling with all the debt has the opportunity to make it less bad and like actually deal with it in the long run.
Totally. And this is so antithetical to my American brain. Like, I really am sitting here being like, whoa, oh, you're going to be financially on the line for someone else's rent. But I'm like, if there aren't at least a few people in your life that you would do that for, like, do you have close friends?
Right.
Like, are you in solidarity?
The thought I just had was, I would absolutely do that for my best friends, like the maybe 2 or 3 close people in my life. But like, would you do that for a stranger?
Yeah.
And that's like, and it's like, can we get to a world where that's the case?
Yeah.
But immediate anxiety. I'm like, why would I give money to someone who I don't know is going to pay me back? But like, you know, that's again, like you said, the American brain. But yeah, interesting.
And that's the perfect next question, Babette, is like, well, what support and infrastructure do I need to be willing to do it for a stranger?
Totally.
So there are mutual aid groups that are organizing. We are all collectively pooling money that if someone can't make rent, here's the money for it.
Totally.
But we still need the people with the high credit scores to get involved to make there be a rental to live in the first place.
Totally.
Right.
But that's how we expand past the individual. Like we can start with the really trusted, close, intimate relationships that we have each other's back and would easily put ourselves on the line for each other. But we can expand further than that by creating systems that support each other. Because also the more people involved, the easier it is to pool together the money for one person's rent for one.
Totally.
Right.
The burden is lifted. Yeah.
Right.
100%.
It's like everyone contributes like $10 or something if it's like so many people.
God, totally.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. So then I think this is something I've struggled with a little bit, where it's like, I feel like I'm getting to a place financially where like, because I've been budgeting and doing stuff, like I'm a little bit on autopilot in the sense that like, I don't have too many expenses that like majorly throw my life off. Actually, I say this as I paid $3,000 for my dog surgery last week.
I was thinking about bags.
I was like, wait a minute. Actually, now that I say this, but no, like, I mean, I'm able to like cushion those like larger purchases. Like I'm in a very, I would say like financially chill and like privileged space. How do you then budget mutual aid into your economic plan so that it's like something recurring and consistent instead of like, oh, I'm just going to throw this like every once in a while. Do you know what I mean? That's something I've been trying to think about.
Totally. I think part of what trips people up about that question, because I get asked this question a lot. Part of it is that we, again, as Americans are trained to think of like charity or like tithing instead of the like solidarity of mutual aid. So it's like, oh, I'm supposed to give 10% of my money to this religious organization. So I will just switch that and say I will give 10% of my money to other queer people. I'm not interested in percentages. I'm not interested in any kind of rules of thumb in kind of any area of personal finance. What I am interested in is how are we using any and all tools and resources at our disposal to help each other? So it's like, can we use things like my literal home, my car, my credit score, my, you know, like who is in my will? Like there are all of these ways that we can be thinking about how are we using our resources and what we have access to with other people instead of just like ourselves or our partners. But then when it comes to, I do want to send literal cash money to other people. How do I decide how much? If you think about your budget as the pie chart and like probably housing gets the biggest slice of the pie chart for most of us, but like it kind of represents how important is each of those things. So to you, should the mutual aid slice be larger or smaller than rent or than travel or than takeout? And I'm truly not shaming any of those. There are plenty of disabled folks around the country that should spend more on takeout so that they actually eat than they should give money away. So that like being honest and like real with yourself about where does this fall in the context of the other things that get my money, and being willing for that to change month to month or life stage to life stage. Like in the month that your dog needs surgery might not be the month to also give money away.
Totally.
And another thing to think about is in personal finance, we talk a lot about like an emergency savings fund or a rainy day fund. So you have $3,000 to pay for an unexpected dog surgery, stuff like that. Can those of us who have enough money to have an emergency savings fund plan for one other person's one other emergency also? Which Sounds cool and radical because I'm saying it in the way that I'm saying it and in the setting, but like marginalized communities have always done. Like that's always how like a lot of like Black American families have operated. It's just like who has money this month and who's in the most fucked up situation. The money has to go there. There's no other option. But then again, how can we make that extended outside our immediate circles? And how can especially those of us with economic privilege expand it outside the circle of economic privilege?
Right.
So we can be giving money on a regular basis, but we can also be preparing for someone to have a medical emergency or a car broken down or not be able to make rent or something like that.
Wow. That's so helpful.
So crazy.
That's so helpful.
There's so much there that's like that's for me personally missing, I think, in that system. And I think that there was something kind of specifically awkward about 2020 and kind of the collective, I almost want to say psychosis, but not really, but just like the moment of like everyone putting their Cash App out, everybody giving at this wild speed that was not sustained at all, has like completely disappeared. I do want to prepare for like an emergency fund, but do I have relationships with my friends and with people I don't even know where they would feel comfortable asking me to cover an emergency? Or, you know, like I don't.
And would you feel comfortable asking them?
No, totally.
Yeah. And that's the mutual aid part. Like you also have to be willing to like accept it when you were.
Yeah. Like, do you just participate in mutual aid as a giver?
Right.
And not as someone asking for help?
Yeah. And then is that actually mutual aid? Is that actually solidarity, or is that charity still? Is that still I am tithing to be pure?
Totally.
Wow. I feel like I can hear our minds like exploding. I can hear it from here.
I'm very curious about how you format this kind of like work that you do with someone. Could you like walk us through what kind of some of the steps you might take or what you might teach someone?
Yeah, totally. I used to do the work mostly one-on-one, but again, when I want everyone to think and operate more communally about money, and when I want us to break the taboo of like how hard it is to talk about money, like how many times have we been at queer parties and everybody's talking so openly about their sex lives, but like no one will say anything about their financial situation.
Right.
Totally. Yeah.
Or ask for help financially. So now almost all of my work is done in group settings because I want people to get that little bit of like almost exposure therapy and like little bit of practice of like talking about money with other people. I also think it helps break down some of the shame that so many of my clients have about like decisions they've made or about not having information or about, you know, just money really brings up a lot of shame for a lot of folks. So the main service that I offer is a 12-week group program called Take Control of Your Money. Over the 12 weeks, I have it very structured, and I have very intentionally made it as ADHD friendly as possible. I hired a consultant, so that over the 12 weeks, I am teaching first like the emotional and relational side of money, because if we don't acknowledge that looking at the student loans can put us into fight or flight and develop some strategies around that, then the rest of the program is kind of worthless.
Whoa.
And I have like a actual framework in how to think through preparing to have a money conversation with someone in your life. So we have to do some of that. Then I spend several weeks on budgeting, but mostly what I'm doing when I teach budgeting is just reframing what a budget is. Because so much of mainstream financial culture is trying to make it like a diet, like it's just recreating diet culture, which is, as we know, incredibly harmful and especially oppressive to fat people. We don't want to just do that. So instead of feeling like I need to restrict or I need to be good or I need to deny, like a budget is just planning in advance what is most important to get my resources. So we spent several weeks on that, and I break down, here's how to think about debt, here's different options for savings. Like, you know, we get into it, but like most of what I'm doing is just trying to retrain what people have had forced down their throats about how we think about budgeting and what it takes to like be a good or responsible adult.
Whoa.
Then I do a week on credit scores so that then I can do a week on how to buy a house, including if you want to do it with like a whole polycule or a whole group of friends or something.
So
then I do a week on literally what is the stock market, like literally what is a stock? So that then I can do a week on retirement planning. And in retirement planning, I talk about like, here's what a 401k is, here's what a Roth IRA is. But then we also talk about like What kind of mutual aid are we setting up to care for each other when we're older? I don't know if the stock market's going to exist in 30 years as the climate collapses. Like,
oh my God.
I don't know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
sorry, that's terrifying for me to have to say, but I don't want to hide from it and like pretend it's not happening. So,
And it's like that. It's like this foolproof, safe place to like put your money
Right.
for a long period of time. Totally.
it's not. There's no guarantees of anything with climate change and rising fascism. So yeah, I want you to understand what a Roth IRA is and for you to make informed decisions about it. But let's also talk about what it takes to prepare skills, knowledge, relationships that we can take care of each other regardless of what situation we're living in. And then from there, I do a week on like emergency preparedness and like different types of insurance so that people can be thinking through like, how am I prepared for myself or others to weather a financial emergency?
That's so cool.
That's so cool.
Thanks. So that's the main thing that I do. And then I do one-off workshops on specific topics. Like I did a workshop recently about how marriage affects your finances, because I've had a lot of queer people asking me lately, like, should I get married if we might lose the option at some point? And I'm like, okay, but you need to understand how it affects your taxes and your student loans and your healthcare. And you need to understand what divorce laws are like in your state so that you know what you're getting into and if you want to have a prenup or something.
Yeah, the only thing I know about marriage and student loans is that the person then also has your debt, your like student loan debt.
Not exactly. Student loan debt is only ever in one person's name. But when the minimum payment is determined by your income, because you're in one of the income-driven repayment plans, now both of your incomes are going to count towards calculating that amount. Unless you do your taxes married filings separately, but that can cause other problems. So talk to a professional. Anyone who's listening to me right now, don't just like mess around with this. But,
Don't take this as,
there are loopholes, but you want to know eyes wide open if getting married is going to mean that you're going to like have a higher student loan payment or lose access to Medicaid or, you know, like.
Right.
Wait, that's so crazy. I just paid off my student loan like last week.
Wait, amazing.
I really did.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm getting married on Monday.
Wow.
So I was like, wait, did I subconsciously do that to kind of like not have to deal with any of this shit?
So funny.
That's amazing. I love that.
That's very funny.
And that's what I do want to say, Ally, like, thank you for making total forgiveness.
Oh, wait, no way.
Anything that encourages queer people to like think and talk about money is so important to
Totally.
do. So just want like thank you and Grant for doing that. It
That's
really
so funny. I was literally thinking about total forgiveness when I finally paid this.
Wait, what is total forgiveness?
My friend and I wanted to make like a Jackass style like dare show.
Yeah.
But then we both had like really crazy amounts of student loans. And so we pitched to our parent company like, if we complete these things, will you have it be for student loan payments? So we like racked up these student loan payments by doing like increasingly crazier things. And if you failed, the other person got double student loan payments that week. So it was like this weekly show
Oh my God.
that escalated truly out of control. And only through like loving each other were we able to remain friends. It's kind of like the thesis of the show.
Wait.
Which was a beautiful component of the show.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I appreciated the catharsis and the
Yeah,
love.
it was great.
Wait, I'm
I
obsessed.
think it does matter to call attention to that's how bad the student loan crisis is.
Yes,
and also
totally.
to encourage queer people to talk about money and to each other.
Yeah, totally. It was
my
it was
God.
crazy. You should watch it. It's
The
honestly,
first-
it's like one of the things I'm most proud of.
Really? The first thing is total forgiveness is uncomfortably real on Reddit.
We were interviewed by like MSNBC, and the whole article was
Wait,
like,
shut the
these
fuck
two are
up.
maybe the least. It was like the least sympathetic people to be the face of the student loan crisis. We both went to private schools, and our parents are in the show, and they're both just kind of like, "Yeah, this sucked." It's just like, yeah, they picked these private schools. Like,
Right.
it was crazy.
Okay, but you picked that shit when you're fucking 18. Like, that's the fucking
Man,
thing.
I was 17. Yeah. Oh my God, I have so much to say about this.
Meanwhile, I come from the socioeconomically privileged background that my dad sat me down with a financial advisor when I was applying to colleges.
Shut the fuck
I
up.
almost went to private school, and instead I went to the cheap state school that gave me a half ride because he
Yeah,
had the
exactly.
resources and the know how to like sit me down with a financial advisor who was like, this is what this looks like. And I was like, oh shit, thank you for saving my life.
Sorry. You didn't sit down with an admissions counselor who rode in on a longboard skateboard and said, hey, are you cool or not? That wasn't your rite of passage.
So funny. I think I was somewhere in the middle where my dad was just like, you're simply going where they give you the most financial aid. And I was like, yeah, that's where I'll go. But I mean, still, like, I had no sense of like what I was signing up for, like what loans I was signing up for. And like, my dad graciously took on most of the debt, which like is something like I do have student loans very, very low, like not very much, but I feel like forever indebted to him because he took on most of it. But like when you're 17, you're literally like, I don't know. Like, sure, that sounds fine, I guess. Like this package that they set up for you. And then also what's come out about these schools, like Ivy specifically, is like when I went to school, you know, I had friends who were lower income who got a full ride. And then you have like the rich people who like can pay all of it without any financial aid. But like they had middle class folks like overpaying by a lot.
Yep.
And so now there's that like lawsuit against like the schools. And I like signed up for it. And I was like, I might get like $100 or something, like so little. But like I absolutely overpaid for school because like my family's making nowhere near how much like the people who can just pay for school fully. And yeah, I'm still paying like half the amount for school.
Wait, that's
like so ridiculous.
Interesting that there's a lawsuit about that because I'm like, that is so American of this like disappearing middle class, nothing like to help.
I know. And they're trying to rectify it now. Like if I went to school now, I think I would have gotten a full ride. Like people like, and I'm just like, fuck. It's crazy. It's crazy how arbitrary it is. Like that really made me feel like I was like, that's fucking arbitrary. Like if I went to school like 4 years later, like I think it would be free. There was like something like if you make it under a certain amount, it's just like free for you. And I was like,
that's so crazy. We were thinking about making another season of the student loan show, but then ultimately we're like, the whole point was that we broke the format and we can't do that again. We can't like remanufacture that, but our focus was going to be on these schools that have like rock climbing walls and like lazy rivers and like all this like amenity rich like kind of advertising angle or even like for-profit universities that are like a model to make money, you know. So there is something going on with college. Hopefully
advertising a school. Like it's not a business, it's a school, but it is a business.
It is a business.
And that's the point.
And those endowments are racking it up. Like, I know. You would think at a certain point you could live off the interest as an institution and provide affordable education.
Kind of like that was the point of the endowment in the first place.
Just accrue as much as possible. Yeah. Wow. Going back to the stock market a little bit, I really tried to learn about the stock market this year. Me and Ally texted about it for like 5 seconds. But like honestly, pulling our knowledge, like pulling our community knowledge.
Totally.
But I literally did text my like one straight guy friend and I was like, tell me about the stock market. Like, what do I need to know?
And he was like, you gotta look at Bitcoin.
Yeah, or like, well, NVIDIA is what everyone is like, you know, NVIDIA is like the whole thing that people are like, this is the stock that'll going to definitely make money, blah, blah, blah. But I've been learning a lot through like TikTok. TikTok honestly has been a very great accessible resource. I really enjoy TikTok. But then also understanding those creators also have their own motives. But I guess my question is like, you know, the stock market itself feels like so evil in a lot of ways. Like even if I'm like investing in an ETF, which is like a diversified portfolio of like different funds, there could be like a company that like I don't support or like a company like supports the genocide in Gaza. So I guess like, is there a way really to ethically invest or does that not exist at all? Yeah, I think that's my question. Is there a way to ethically invest or is everything at the end of the day like tied to something that's like probably a little evil, you know?
Of course it's all evil.
Yeah.
It's like, of course it's evil. And I'll even start with the whole concept of what the stock market is the most capitalist thing there can be. The concept of the stock market is that if I have enough money to invest in this company, now I am the part owner of that company and I reap financial profit from owning that company. The people who work for that company only get paid whatever wages that are the minimum possible that the company can get away with paying, and sometimes less than that. So how come I, as the person who owns money already, make money from the fact that I own money already, whereas the people that are actually doing the work to make the company valuable are getting paid the least possible.
Exactly.
So that's the whole concept of the stock market. The stock market also evolved from the slave trade. Like that's where it comes from, is selling people as property. So the whole concept is already evil and should not exist, in my opinion. However, if the question is, can we have a harm reduction approach to interacting with the stock market? Of course. Of course, there's going to be worse stuff and slightly less bad stuff to invest in or to decide to do with our money. And also, person to person, we can think about our individual responsibility. Here I am making it about individuals, but like, I think about my role as a white person with wealth privilege a lot. And should I be the one engaging with the stock market? Should I be the one growing my money that way? Sounds a little different when it's a client of mine who's like an indigenous person that's been stolen from for hundreds of years, you know, or a Black person that's been stolen from for hundreds of years. So to make it a little bit more pragmatic for y'all, like whenever you see something branded as like ethical investing, socially responsible investing, ESG investing, like those terms, none of those terms are particularly regulated. And we also know that the Trump administration and Republicans in general right now are trying to get rid of all of that, just like they're trying to get rid of DEI. What I want to ask myself is, what is measurable and what is useful to measure? So when I see any kind of investment branded as like gender equality, I'm like, I don't think that's measurable in this way. I think probably you just put a white cis woman in charge of the company that's doing fracking and called it gender equality.
Totally. Totally. Wow.
But if an ETF that you're looking at, Babette, says none of these investments are private prisons,
Right.
that's measurable. That's worth knowing.
Is there like a database or something to like cross-reference or?
As you sow, SOW, like reap what you sow. As you sow has databases. There's the private prison one. There's the military weapons manufacturing one. They're all tied to each other. If you find one of them, all of the information is in there. But you can search specific mutual funds and ETFs to find out if any of the companies that are in that one product of an investment are doing weapons for the military or are doing private prisons or are doing literal oil and gas.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, shout out As You Sow. Thanks for doing that work.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really cool and kind of crazy to hear that there is a site for this. I feel like so many institutions, specifically like colleges and universities. Yeah.
How can we divest?
Exactly. So it sounds like it's such a complicated thing. Is it that complicated for like a university to divest right now, or are all the tools there?
All the tools are there.
They also have people in these jobs. Like they have so many people whose job is right?
Totally.
I meet up with as many leftist financial professionals around the country as I can, some of us on a monthly basis. There's no shortage of people who are equipped and able and willing and trying to do the work. So even if the investment guy at a university is like, I don't have experience in this, they could absolutely afford to hire someone who can do it. Totally. And they could get it done in not that long a time frame. It's totally doable. But we live in the culture of capitalism, like not even just the like mechanics of the economy, but the culture of capitalism that requires that profit be the top priority.
Exactly.
Yeah,
constantly.
totally.
And that's antithetical to quote unquote ethics, right? It's like your goal is to make the most money possible. Yeah.
But it's also specifically about short-term profit. Because if you think about, well, if the goal is long-term the most profit possible, then the top priority should be to make sure the planet still freaking exists.
Right.
Totally.
Or that there are enough people, because there's been enough healthcare to keep those people alive, that the people can continue to run the companies.
Right.
But it's all about short-term profit. That's
such
the
a good
only
distinction.
thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
What would you say to other like queer folks who are like really scared to like engage with finances or like the stock market at all? Like what advice would you give them?
Take care of your poor nervous system. You did not evolve to have to deal with this. The numbers on the screen are not the same thing as a tiger trying to eat your face right now, but your body doesn't know that. Because in especially the United States, the numbers on the screen directly correlate to shelter and healthcare and food and even the ability to connect with other humans, which is also a survival need for us.
Totally.
So take care of your poor nervous system and like use whatever skills you already probably use, like to cope with that. And then the next thing is going to be to try to detach any feelings of self-worth from the numbers. I like to give my clients mantras like fuck Ronald Reagan specifically.
It's literally all his fault. It's literally all his fault. It's nuts. Yeah.
When I say late stage of capitalism, I mean since Reagan kicked it into
Post-Reagan,
overdrive. Like it was always going to be bad. It was always going to get worse over time.
No, but the rise of like hyper neoliberalism is actually fucking nuts. Like Thatcher and Reagan, I'm like, y'all can fucking rot in hell.
Yeah.
So when I tell my clients to have that little mantra that they say whenever they're dealing with money stuff, it's because it's a shorthand for saying, even though my uncle told me that money should work like this, I'm living in an entirely different world and economy than my uncle was when he was my age.
Absolutely.
It does not apply anymore. And also we can throw away any ideas of being good or being responsible about money in those old ways of thinking about it. They were already fucked up then because this country was already stealing from Black and Indigenous people.
There was like an ounce of social welfare, like a little bit, like an inch. But now there's like, it's like nothing at all.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
And the nothing that's there is being eradicated today.
Exactly.
It's like, wait, what?
The billionaires and the hedge funds sucked all of the money out of the rest of us. So am I telling you that in order to be moral and good, you have to pay back your debt? No. Like never. Like, there's no moral obligation to pay the student loans or pay the credit cards. You're still a good person. You're still a responsible person. You have been dealt a hand that is so impossible to survive in for the vast majority of Americans.
Right. And it doesn't help with family members telling you that it's not that different from when they were growing up. Because I was talking to my mom on Mother's Day. And of course, I don't know why she chose to ask this then, but she was like, are you really never going to have a kid? And I was like, oh, I don't think so. And she was like, well, you just ruined Mother's Day. I was like, Mommy, having a kid is more expensive than when I was growing up. And like, that was still very expensive. She immediately goes, no, it's not. I was like, Mother. Like, it's like, but like, she's like, no, it's like, what has gotten more expensive? I'm like, literally
every single thing down the line.
I'm like, rent, everything. She's like, well, I'm like, you just haven't rented in like 30 fucking years, And it's just like,
how terrifying is it for her to have to face that you are now in a worse world than she was when she already knows how bad it was? Like,
no, exactly.
All of these older people that are trying to hold on to ideas of like, well, if you just do this correctly, you will be safe. First of all, that was never a guarantee.
That was never, it's failing them too. Exactly. Yeah.
But so many of them don't have the emotional regulation skills to be able to handle how scared they are for us if that is true. So they would rather pretend it's not true.
That's exactly it. Because it's the idea of like, if you just stuck at a good job for like however many years, you got your pension, and like that doesn't exist anymore for them, right? Like our parents are like right on that cusp of like, depending on if you had like a good government job, like maybe like some of my friends' parents have like pensions because like they worked for the government their whole life, but like most people don't. And then like, so it failed them. I really do like empathize because they're processing that their life also is not what they thought it would be.
Right.
And then like you said, and so I'm like, I'm making fun of my mom because I thought that was hilarious. I think she's so funny. But you're really painting a picture of like empathy, when it comes to like finances. And I'm like, I empathize a lot for my parents. I empathize for anyone in debt. It's like we are in truly like unimaginable times that we all have to like somehow like navigate.
Yeah.
But we have each other. Actually, all we have is each other. We literally don't have anything else. We don't have like, no, the money in the bank, it's not real. Like you say the stock market might not exist in 30 years. Like that's so true.
And that's where it all has to come back in all of the work that I do is like, yes, I want you to understand how the rules currently exist, how they're currently played. I want you to creatively play them as best you can. But also, what can we be setting up that we have options in the future? And so we can like talk about diversification. Like we can, some of us put some money in the stock market to have some options there. We can buy some property to have some options there. We can invest in skills like trade school, like cooking, like gardening. Like we can invest in relationships, in healthy conflict. Like not to be the financial planner who's like practice doing conflict. That's like just as valuable as having a high yield savings account
No,
to
for
me
real.
in this day and age. Like, so wherever you are starting from, I do think that there is a way to be planning to give yourself and your community some options, no matter what the world is going to throw at us in the next 20, 30 years.
It seems like very informed by mutual aid and that kind of like connectivity. I think that that's so special, especially like we've been saying, this feels so individual, like money is mine, money is for my family, my kids.
Right.
This is really cool. What would you say, like, for someone like me, who I finally got to a point where I'm like, okay, cool, I can afford the things that I need to take care of. There's this kind of like creepy hand reaching out from behind a door being kind of like, well, do you want to take it to the next level? You know, like, what is financial literacy when you finally feel safe in a way that you didn't think you ever could?
That's so real.
Is there a way to kind of like take care of yourself, especially with like having a kid? I don't know. There's some part of me that is like being pulled towards like save and store up. But
Yeah.
what does this
It's
next
human.
level look like? Yeah. What does that look like with like a critical lens? My scarcity mindset didn't let me ever look past this
Me too.
point. So yeah,
Right.
I'm
Right.
very curious.
Yeah.
Which is most of my clients. So many people come to me and find me because they're like, I never thought I would have any money.
Yes, totally.
And now I have some.
Yes.
And what do I do? Because I don't want to squander the opportunity or like be irresponsible, like I've been told I'm irresponsible, but I also don't want to become evil.
Totally.
And I think there's just so much internal work around like how you define wealth or like what is important to you or like what is it that you're trying to do. So like I love, Ally, that you're like specifically talking about like how do I create some safety for me and my kid. So it's what are the important things, right? If the important things are like knowing that your kid always has like housing and food and stuff, okay, buying a home when you are thinking about where you are buying the home, how are you are buying it, can create some more stability there for folks that have access to that option. Again, I think some of us, I say us very broadly as a very large community, putting some money into the stock market so that that might be an option if this, you know, if and how the stock, we'll see how the stock market plays out in the next couple of decades, but like
Right.
In the next couple hours.
it is like that these days. If it is important to have the option to leave the United States on short notice as trans people, and you have money that you want to keep just in a high yield savings account to have that option for yourself or for someone else. But I guess one of the things that I want to catch in my brain or my clients' brains is the lie that money can guarantee safety. Don't hear me wrong and hear me saying like, oh, money doesn't buy happiness or whatever bullshit rich people are always telling the poor people. But like, there's no guarantee of safety via money. So if that's what I'm trying to do with my money, I need to stop and reevaluate because that is just uncritical rich people stuff, which is very human, but not true and not helpful to me and my broader community. So if I know that this money is for this purpose and that money is for that purpose, and I am thinking through these things and I am building an emergency saving fund that also cares for other people, or I am building a retirement plan that also cares for other people, or I am buying a house that other people will be able to live in long-term or very short-term, I guess I want to feel like I am building the type of stability that can radiate out from me to others, and not the type of stability that's putting up my castle walls around me.
That's a beautiful visual. You honestly blew my mind with like having a safety fund and then a second one for someone else.
Yeah.
Like, how can we think one step further? How can we kind of take our time and duplicate each step so that there's a little bit of extra for someone else?
And having those conversations with your friends, like literally, what will we do if you face this or I face that? Who's got money? Who's got a couch? Who's good at editing a resume? Who can do childcare?
Wow.
I think those are really important conversations in this political moment.
Absolutely.
Really?
I guess I will just really quick say that money is different for queer and trans people than it is for straight and cis people. Any marginalized person, life is probably more expensive. I'm thinking about like Black women having to pay to get their hair done in order to be allowed to be at an office job. But then queer and trans people, obviously, like transition is expensive. Obviously, having family can be expensive. But even like life insurance is something that most of us should have. But if I need to get life insurance, I have to apply as male or female. And I will get a cheaper rate if I can apply as female for life insurance.
Stop.
Wow.
No. Is that real?
Yeah.
Real. Women live
Because women have like
longer.
less diseases. Yeah.
That is on toxic masculinity. That is on the price of masculinity.
Literally.
Wow.
And then disability insurance is flipped. Disability insurance is cheaper for males because they can't get pregnant, which is a big risk for disability, to cause disability.
That's literally like eugenics. That's crazy.
Yeah. So the next thought might be, well, then I want to be able to apply as a trans person or as a non-binary person. But if we look at the actuarial tables of our life expectancy, that's not looking good.
Not too hot.
Really?
Not charging us very much money. Like they're going to charge us a lot more money because we're not expected to live as long because of all the oppression and violence that we face.
Wow.
So I say all this not to make anyone disheartened by it, but to point out that if any straight cis people are trying to tell you that money is the same for queer and trans people as it is for straight and cis people, it's not. And there's a lot of insidious ways that it is different for us and harder for us.
Totally. And I think meeting with someone like you and kind of getting that like legibility or like
Literacy?
literacy. Yeah, thank you. I think having that literacy like as a trans person is super helpful in that way. Like even just now I'm like, do I have life insurance? I really don't think so.
Wait, I don't understand life insurance. I'm like, I don't know if we don't have to get into it, but like,
Okay.
I know some rich people, instead of like a trust fund, they'll do it kind of through life insurance, like for their kids. Like that's like the only thing I understand about it, but otherwise I don't really get it. Yeah, I like know a couple people with like trust funds, and I'm just like, okay, well, how does that work? Like, can you like get the money right now? Because if so, I'm robbing you, first of all. Second of all, like, how does that work? And like, it's like, a lot of them say like it's through life insurance sometimes. So I don't really get what that.
So life insurance is the broader category. There's two main types of life insurance. There's the simple one that is more likely to be affordable to us, and that is term life insurance. That's the simple one that probably Ally should get.
Okay.
And that is just the straight up, I pay into this every month or every year. And then, I'm sorry, this is going to sound so bleak. If I die during the term that I selected when I took out the policy, so maybe I take out a 20-year policy, if I die within 20 years of today, then the set amount of money will be paid out to whoever I have listed. So if I'm having a baby this year, I say if I die anytime before my baby turns 20, there will be $500,000 that gets put into an account for them, something like that.
Got it.
So that's the simplified one that most Americans can at least look into. It's still going to be very ableist and fat phobic when you apply, and people get denied for health reasons all the time, which is really fucked up.
God.
But that basic concept is there. The one that you're hearing, Babette, is the more complicated type of life insurance, permanent life insurance. Now, that is itself its own category. There's lots of different types under there: whole life, index life, universal life, whatever.
Oh, so you're like a genius.
I had the same thought process. I was like, whoa. Oh my God. That's so fucking funny. Before they even finish explaining, you're like, okay.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I would be remiss not
That
to
was so
say.
genuine. That's so funny.
Okay, sorry.
Permanent life insurance. We care so much about it. So permanent life insurance, it can be really complex. So when it's called permanent, it means as long as you continue to pay to have it, it continues to be in effect. So I'm probably not immortal, unfortunately. So probably it will eventually pay out when I eventually die.
Got it.
Because of that, there can be complex factors to it, like some of the money you're putting in gets invested for you. Some of the money you can borrow from in certain circumstances or in any circumstances. So that's what you're hearing with the trust fund stuff. But that means that the cost of it is going to be like 15 times as expensive as the term
normal
life
one.
insurance. So that's when it's only accessible to wealthy people.
Really rich people. Okay.
But big, like permanent life insurance policies like that are like how the Kennedys have kept their money and like grown their money over generations.
Because is it like tax free or low tax to withdrawal, or is there some sort of incentive there?
From a simplest perspective, it's that if I grow my savings throughout my lifetime, and then in retirement, I spend down a lot of those savings. But then when I die, is there an insurance policy to guarantee that there will be more money paid to the next generation than whatever I have left of my savings?
Whoa.
So yes, tax breaks and loopholes and all that kind of stuff. But just from a basic concept of it, when normal people like you and me are using term life insurance to make sure our kid isn't totally screwed, or that Babette's dad has the chance to retire even if Babette's not around to take care of him, that's just maintaining. The permanent life insurance is guaranteeing potentially more money to the next generation than what you left the world with.
And how is it doing that? Sorry.
Because the insurance company is paying out the death benefit.
It's not like a savings account. You're paying the insurance and they're saying, we'll give you this money. It's separate money. So it's not even technically your money going to the next generation.
Right. The insurance company is still a
the
for-profit
insurance
company.
company's paying it out. Got it. Okay.
Just like a health insurance company. They're going to collect as much money as possible. They're going to pay out as little as possible. But when you are paying in so much money to the permanent policy, they're investing the money in the meantime. They're growing it. They're doing other stuff with it.
I got it.
So they're guaranteeing that they will pay out a certain amount to you that is not necessarily equal to the amount that you paid in.
Truly
So good at explaining things. That's great.
mind-bending.
No, like rich people are on some other shit. It's literally so. One thing about rich people, they're so good at being rich in the sense of like they really think about money so much. Like I just don't think my parents think about money that much.
Guy for that. They hire somebody to do that.
Yes.
And those people, they think they're the biggest geniuses in the world. They're walking around like, I'm in control of all of these billions of dollars from all of these different mega millionaire clients. So yes, the rich people know enough to be able to have conversations with those professionals and to know to hire those professionals and to force their kids to also hire the same professionals.
Yes.
But it is still financial professionals like financial advisors and hedge fund managers that are
doing it.
Making these. Yeah. Wow. Gosh, that's so interesting. I have a pitch. What if we do like a Patreon
Like workshop
Q&A?
I was thinking
workshop.
that.
You and I
that'd be
come in with like
amazing.
actual, like some of our financial questions.
Yeah.
And yeah, that'd be so sick.
I would love to. You might be able to tell I love teaching this stuff.
Yeah. No,
it's
totally.
I get a ton of content. Yeah.
Thank you so much for especially for
Thank you
answering
so
the
much.
insurance question. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, totally.
amazing.
I love to get to be a nerd. I'm on Instagram and TikTok, Finance with River. And both of those have a link in my bio that has a bunch of free resources like a budget spreadsheet and recordings of various workshops that I've given. So feel free to make use of those. And then if anybody is interested in my Take Control of Your Money program, I usually run it 3 times a year. And you can join my little list to be notified about when registration opens up again. And I also want to specifically name that all of my programs and services, I have a reparative pricing model so that Black and Indigenous folks pay what you want for any of my services.
Whoa. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
This was amazing. Wait, Ally, I watched. Wait, what's that thing he called? Total Forgiveness.
Oh, no way.
Which is like, for listeners, it's like a series that Ally made at Dropout, and basically like they're competing with their friend for like the organization, the company that they work for, to like pay off their student loans. And I only watched the first episode, but it made me really sad.
It's crazy, right?
I got really sad for you because also I think in my head I was like, this is so long ago. Like this had to be like 15 years ago. It was only 6 years
It's
ago.
literally 6 years ago. It's literally,
Like when I looked it up,
I have
was
the
like,
same cells. Yeah.
No, literally. Exactly. It just makes me like sad for younger Ally, and also
I
give me some
know.
more background context where I'm like, this is really hard. Like,
This is
it's just-
so fucked up.
This is
Yeah, that one was
fucked.
crazy. Oh my God, I forgot about my car in that show. Like,
Yes.
my car is literally leaking oil.
You had a stop. You were like, let's test her out. And then you were like, if I get like 2 shots of espresso and then just add the complimentary milk, you're like,
Okay.
free latte, cheap free latte.
That is true, but I was canceled online for that. By an account called Heroes in Aprons. That was a barista vent account that had like tens of thousands of followers. That was just like, people treat us like garbage as baristas. And I was like DMing them being like,
Yeah.
I was a barista. Like, I understand. Like, I'm literally not stealing the milk from you. I'm stealing it from Starbucks.
From, like, the corporation.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah.
I know.
It was crazy. Wait, I love that you watched that. I'm really proud of this series. The series gets wackadoo.
It starts pretty tough. Like, that was pretty intense for like a first one. I was like, damn. Like,
It's so crazy.
thank you so much to River Nice. You can find them on Instagram at Finance with River. You can check out their website, beintentionalfinancial.com, and we have all of this linked down below in the show notes.
Gender Spiral is an original podcast from Audiation. This episode was mixed by Matt Noble. Theme music by Chanel Kirchlow, remixed by Daria Lord. Additional music is by Command Jasmine, courtesy of Molten Heart. Art by Joey Hahn, and graphics by Michael Tyrone Delaney. This show is executive produced by Ireland Meacham, myself, Ally Beardsley, my co-host Babette Thomas, and Sandy Smallins, with additional story editing by Susie Armitage.
You can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/genderspiralpodcast to support us, and you can get these exclusive bonus episodes every other week, plus gifts from us like monthly postcards. You can also check us out at genderspiralpod.com, where you'll find transcripts for each episode and a link to leave us a little voicemail. We also officially have a new merch store up, so if you've been fiending for a little camel and orange Gender Spiral number, you can now order that online at genderspiralpod.com/merch.
Audiation.